real beginning of Joel Blomqvist's NHL career. Yeah, I know he was here before and he played well and all that other stuff, but this is different. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning from Buffalo, New York. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. It'll be Penguins versus Sabres here tonight at KeyBank Center. And though Mike Sullivan's not going to say who tonight's goaltender is until after the morning skate, I mean, you go through all this, you bring the kid up, and yeah, I would imagine he's going to play tonight, and then you can use Alex Nedeljkovic tomorrow night in Washington, given the back-to-backs and all. And I'm not going to lie, I feel almost more invested in this Blumquist start than I did in any of the ones earlier this season, because we knew he wasn't going to, he wasn't going to hang around. You had two guys getting NHL contracts between Ned and Tristan Jarry. You knew Jarry was going to be back. You knew there was just no way, right? This is different. And this is different not only in the sense that Jarry's out maybe for good, but also that it was Kyle Dubas's terminology that Blumquist's going to get, and I quote directly, a prolonged look. That's not just let's see how he does on the trip. That's let's see how he does as the guy. And that's the position I believe he's going to be put in, whether he starts tonight or not. And that's actually just a really, really good thing. A couple of reasons for that. One is that Ned hasn't handled starting on some sort of steady basis particularly well. He hasn't really handled too much well in general this season, with the exception of a terrific performance like the one against Edmonton, and he's really, for whatever reason, struggled on the road. But what you're looking for the Penguins is someone who can just take it and run. And that doesn't mean starting 75 games or whatever. It just means to show that you've got that. You're capable of handling that regimen, that rhythm, that 2 starts a week, 3 starts a week if needed on a tight schedule. And then, of course, within that, to perform well. And what I like most about that from the team's perspective as it relates to Blumquist is that he is physically capable of making the great save. Now, the Penguins have not been a very good defensive team. They've also had times where they've been really, really good, and it didn't matter because they'd give up one chance that period and it would end up in the back of their net. But what's needed in the short term is a goaltender who can just do the things that you need him to do to win the game. And sometimes that does require making the great save, the acrobatic save, the diving save, the how did he ever even see that puck coming from the point save. Blomqvist had a bunch of those earlier this season, you might recall. I found it interesting that after practice yesterday in Cranberry, when Sullivan was asked what stood out for him in Blomqvist's early stint with the Penguins this season, this was how he responded.
I think just his athleticism, his competitiveness. He competes hard on pucks. He's really athletic. His lateral mobility, his lateral agility, his ability to get post to post is exciting. He's a good goaltender. He's played extremely well in Wilkes. We thought he played well for us at the beginning of the year when he was here. But that would be probably the biggest thing that jumped out at me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's how they think of him. They think of him as someone who is physically capable of being a top-notch NHL goaltender. They think of him as someone who is physically capable. All those things that you heard him describe there, left to right, post to post, athleticism, those are really good traits to have at any position, really, in any sport, because those can't be coached. And those theoretically don't go into slumps. If you're not playing well as a goaltender, if you're off on your angles, if you're timing isn't great, if you didn't look around the right guy to get the right view of the shot, and you have these other qualities, you can still make the save. You can still bail yourself out. But can I be honest here? I honestly thought when Sullivan was asked that he was going to respond about Blumquist's poise, about how cool and collected he was. Because I know Sullivan actually feels this way. It's just obviously wasn't the first thing that popped into his head. But that's a big, big thing that leaped out for me with this kid. Every once in a while, he'd give up a stinker, some short side wrister from the top of the circle on a rush. And man, did he not get fazed by it. He actually said at one point, "Blank happens," and didn't even laugh when he said it when asked about it after the game. And he's going to need some of that too, because when you get your prolonged look, you're going to get your prolonged exposure, and you're going to have things that don't go the way you want them to, and you're going to need to be able to bounce back. In fact, that might be what you need more than anything else. And we'll see if that gets going tonight. I hope it does. I really do. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season. From Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Frank, who asks, "Okay, DK, wide open question for you. What can we really take away in a positive sense from this homestand?" Well, the tangible takeaway is the obvious. They played 5 games and got 3 points. And that in and of itself is trash. There's nowhere to run or hide from it. When you're in an airtight top to bottom race like this, where even the Sabres here in Buffalo are somehow in this thing, you gotta collect points. If you're gonna become a better hockey team overall, that's nice. You gotta collect points along the way. Not doing that while also blowing leads, whether that's on the goaltender who's not here anymore or not, it's just not good enough at all. Now, that's not what you asked for. So I'm going to give you what you asked for, but only because you asked for it. Other than the Ottawa game, which was just awful from front to finish, and I think you know what I'm about to say here because I've been saying it a lot lately, I like overall the way the Penguins are approaching things, the way they're going at it. They haven't always gotten the outcomes they want. But especially if you look at, the Edmonton game's the easy one, all right? They scored a bunch of goals early and, hung on there a bit at the end. And it's crazy that out of the 5-game homestand, the one team that they really had no business beating was the one that they beat, and they kind of beat them handily. But the 2 games that really leaped out to me in terms of how the Penguins should play, what they should be doing, and then executing it, were the last 2. When you hold the time of possession that the Penguins did against a good team like the Lightning, that says a lot. When you dominate them in shots and shot attempts and high danger chances, that says nothing but good things about your team. When the thing that really went the most wrong against the Lightning was a 4th-line winger who never does stuff like this, turns to the inside of the rink, inside his own blue line, and hands Nikita Kucherov a clean breakaway, I'm not sure that's one that you chalk up to some sort of trend or general deficiency. It's just one of those, well, I'll borrow Blumquist's line. It's the blank happens sort of thing. And then there's the game against Seattle where you saw that the Kraken weren't very good. You saw that the Penguins were all over them for 58 minutes out of 60? You also saw that every mistake they made ended up in the back of their own net, and that's a difficult way to play regardless of whose fault it was. Because you can just as easily define that game by how Jari played or didn't play as you could by how Joey Daccord did at the other end. I thought Daccord was terrific, and he's actually been very good for Seattle all season. He made saves he probably shouldn't have been counted upon to make. So, look, for better or worse, they're out here on the road now, and they're going to be out here for a long time. After this, they head from here to Washington. They go out west, all three California teams, Seattle for another game against the Kraken, and then end up in Salt Lake City. It's 2 weeks, 7 games, pretty much every time zone, and now with a new number one goaltender. Don't say it's boring. It's anything but boring with these guys, that's for sure. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins, and we'll be back with another one of these on Monday.